Deadlines, deliberation, and distraction. Remember the couple, Melissa and Sam. Melissa works on what she has to do right away. Sam lets it marinate a little bit in his head. So he is working on it, even though it's marinated in his head. Would you consider him a real procrastinator?
Absolutely. Procrastinators are working on things in their head. And they seem to have, I can't prove it, they seem to have an incredible working memory. They can keep things in mind and they don't worry about forgetting. Task-driven people told me over and over again they had to get something done right away because they had this fear of forgetting. So they go to bed and they think, oh, I didn't do this or that, and they have to get up and do it, or they write it down so they don't forget. The deadline-driven people did not seem to have that fear of forgetting. They were able to keep things in mind and mull it over. A screenwriter told me he cannot finish a story until the exact words of the end come into his head. Then he writes the whole thing. I mean, it's things like that. The ability to keep things in working memory is impressive. There was a recent study, and the procrastination researchers tried to denigrate this study, but it was fascinating. The researchers had people line up on a line, and they had buckets of pennies along the way to the finish line. And they were at different intervals. And some people would pick up the bucket closest to the start line and then carry it all the way to the finish line, whereas others would just wait and pick up a bucket that was near the finish line. And the researchers were sort of baffled and said, well, why did you people who picked up the bucket early carry the extra load all that way? They just wanted to make sure they got it done. And that's what task-driven people do. They just want to make sure they get it done, whereas deadline-driven procrastinators have this sense of trust in their timing and trust that nothing bad will happen. People like Melissa in the book has this fear that, well, what if something happens that interferes with getting this done? I mean, both of these people were going to write something or prepare to present at an event. And Melissa was sure, she had to get hers done because something might interfere, or she had to practice enough times. And she drove her husband Sam crazy, asking him over and over again to listen to her practice. Whereas Sam was confident that at the last minute he would get it done. It perturbed Melissa because, his stuff was scattered all over the bed at the midnight hour, and she made sure she got out of the hotel room early in the morning because she didn't want to deal with his angst. But he got it done, and he pulled it off perfectly. Both of them did well. Successful people do well, but they do things differently.